In this episode, I'm with Ed Mylett, the GOAT of building champions.
Life is about getting off track and getting back on.
Right.
Humans were born imperfectly, right? And you can make major leaps in a year, 3, 4, 5 years to get you back on that track again. Like my whole philosophy of my life is I'm chasing that dude I was born to be. Every decision you make in your life ought to be, if you want to get to that ultimate version of you, is what I'm doing right now get me a step closer to getting introduced to that person someday? If you'll go up to the passenger, to the driver door, and you'll just pull on the door, it'll come right off. It's on there with Velcro. He looks at the door, they look at each other, and he goes, pop! And he pulls my door up, and he takes it and he spins it on his hand above everybody with all the cops just fall out. Ah! Sticks it back on my car again. He comes back, he's like, this is the biggest joke I've ever seen in my life.
Everyone wants to be great, but only few actually get there. And I'm on a mission to find out what all the greatest have in common. I've traveled tirelessly to find, sit down, and talk with GOATs, people that are arguably the greatest of all time at what they do. Sales, marketing, advertising, business, podcasts, branding, you name it. The way they do things may be different, but they all seem to see the world the same way. To them, success is not only achievable, but inevitable. And we'll get inside their heads as they share their expertise with me each week. My name's Mike Arce, and this is The GOAT Show. This episode is sponsored by Trainual. One of the most popular authors for entrepreneurs, Michael Gerber, said people should not run a business, systems should run a business, and people should run the systems. And having all those systems and processes organized and documented is crucial to building a scalable company. However, it can be a very daunting task to make all that happen, but not with Trainual. Trainual gives you an all-in-one solution to quickly and easily document your processes, educate your team, keep them updated with changes, and quiz them along the way to ensure they know the material. I absolutely love Trainual, and you can learn more at gettrainual.com. Again, that's gettrainual.com. Also sponsored by Video Podcast Producers. You know, a year ago, I never imagined sitting down and spending an hour with each GOAT that I interview on this show, whether it's Russell Brunson, Grant Cardone, Ken Shamrock, Lewis Howes, Ryan Dice, or the many others I've been able to sit down with. They didn't know who I was at the beginning of 2017, and to be able to sit down and learn from these guys and share it all with the world has been incredible. There is one secret behind how I got here, and that is video podcasting. So if your goal is to be an influencer in your industry, then this is definitely one of the fastest ways to get there. Check out Video Podcast Producers at startavideopodcast.com and become the influencer that you know you should be. Again, that's startavideopodcast.com. Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Arce, and welcome back to another episode of The GOAT Show, where we interview people that are arguably the greatest of all time at what they do. And today, I am here with Ed Mylett, the GOAT of building champions. Ed, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here, brother.
Man, I'm so excited. We're actually in your suite right now in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And I got to see you speak yesterday in person. First time I got to see you speak in person. Obviously, I've seen a ton of stuff online. Your stuff is incredible.
Thank you.
But the energy in front of, 10,000 people was just exciting.
It was exciting to be there.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little about you, what you're doing today. But I definitely want to talk about how you got there, because people watching, people listening, they want to learn not how to be good, not even how to be great, but how to be the greatest.
I love that.
And you know all about that. All right. So what are you doing these days? I mean, what's your life look like? How are you building champions?
Well, I spend a lot of my time now coaching other people. So I probably spent the first 20 years of my career kind of building my story, I guess, so to speak, building my wealth, building my company, learning, making mistakes. Most of what I teach people is stuff that I've messed up, right? Okay. So I always say all the time, I'm not the highest IQ guy in the world. I haven't done everything perfectly. I've made lots of mistakes along the way, but probably what is unique is I take note of them. I don't repeat them often, and so I spend a lot of my time now grabbing guys or people, I should say, because at least half of them are women, right, that want to get to the next level, be the better version of themselves, take their company or their body or their finances to the next level. And I spend most of my time now kind of paying that forward with other people and coaching people.
Now, what kind of people are you working with? I mean, are these high-performing entrepreneurs? Are they athletes?
Well, there's two types. There's in my own company, in WFG, there's all kinds of startup entrepreneurs that I would call from every age bracket, from in their 20s into their 70s, right, that are starting a business with our firm, and I help coach and mentor them in our system. Okay. So there's that, and there's thousands of those. That's more sort of from a distance. That's sort of speaking, mentoring, retreats, things like that. The other stuff that I do is more one-on-one like this, and those are usually ultra-performing entrepreneurs. These are people that are making 6 figures that want to go to 7 that want to go to 8, or, you know, as you know, a lot of the political people that I work with that are trying to go from being an assemblyman to a senator. Wow. Or a senator to, you know, another office, you know, the highest office. And so I work with some of the guys who ran on both the Democrat and Republican side last time for the presidential race. None of the people I work with won, but I did get a chance to work with them. And then some of the athletes that I work with too that are in the, you know, the various big 4 or 5 sports, I coach and work with them on their mental game too. So all kinds of different people. It's exciting stuff.
So you got entrepreneurs, you got politicians, you got athletes. Do you see, obviously you see parallels, or else you wouldn't be able to help them all.
Yeah.
But what are the differences that you see in those 3 types of people?
Well, there's a lot of similarities between the successful ones. The differences are just the actual execution of what they have to do, right? So if the political game really is a fundraising game, more than anything. People think it's great speeches and how great your ideas are. Unfortunately, in our country right now, it's like, how much money can you raise? So they want to know how to get connected, how to raise money correctly, how to give the right speech to raise the right money, right? Athletes, all of them are just looking for an edge. Every athlete that I work with is looking for some millimeter, some inch, some distinction. Because athletes, when they're at their best, are in what I'd call like flow or peak state, right? So my job's not to get a golfer to swing the golf club better. My job is to get that golfer to swing the golf club at his or her best in the right moments under pressure, right? And so my job's to get them to perform at their peak state as regularly and as repetitiously as they can. That's more what I do with an athlete, right? Okay. And that's true with an actor and entrepreneur too, salesperson. You have a sales call with somebody. I'm not here to tell you how to close better. There are people that are better at that than me, although I think I'm decent at it. My job is to get you to perform at your personal peak best during that call under pressure. So I give them the strategies, the thoughts, the tactics, hopefully that gets them to do that. Because that's the difference, right? The difference is we all have a certain capacity in whatever it is that we do. Successful people are able to elevate and get to their highest capacity level more and more often than people that aren't. It's true in any sport too.
Right.
The best people rise to the occasion in the biggest fights. The biggest shot, they have to hit the biggest throw, they have to make the best sales call. You may not be the best. The key is getting to your best in those environments, and that's sort of what I help people do.
So let's take the athlete as an example.
Yep.
I mean, just getting a fraction of a second faster, or getting being able to hit just a little harder can make the difference between being a champion and being real close.
Yes.
Right. So what do you think is in the way prior to you meeting that person that's, I guess, stopping them from just doing it on their own?
It's the same with every single person. It's their confidence.
Okay.
Self-confidence. The elite athlete, when they go into a fight, right, they've got a confidence level they can execute under pressure. If they haven't prepared correctly, or they know they've missed something in training, or they skipped something, or there just wasn't the right coaching during that process, it's that little doubt, that just tiny little doubt that maybe I can't, right? That's the difference between it's 4th and 10 and Brady's got to execute. They've got to convert a first down or the Super Bowl's over with. The difference between him and the 15th best quarterback in the NFL is his confidence level. And by the way, that confidence level transfers to everybody in that huddle that's blocking for him, that's running their route, right? You're able to transfer that energy to other people. So the difference for me that I find with everybody, I'm talking about a startup entrepreneur to your most successful entrepreneur to an athlete, entertainer, politician, me and you even doing this show with me, right, is our confidence level. It's us believing in ourselves, our capacity. And how you get that can be through different things. Sometimes it's linked to our faith, right? That we know that we're blessed or favored when we're doing something. Sometimes it's in our preparation. Sometimes it's in some strategy that we've learned. Even since I've known you, just in the few weeks I've known you, I've just sort of watched you notch it up. And I think part of that's your associations. So your confidence can change by who you're around, right? Just the power of association can change your identity to where you believe you're worthy and deserve better. So the main thing I look at when I'm coaching somebody, or even when I observe somebody, is their real true identity, their real self-confidence level, what they think they're worth, what their level is, right? That's why, like, even in sports, for example, it's one thing to become a champion in a sport. It's an entirely other thing to repeat it, right? Because a lot of people get to that. They work so hard to become a champion. They never got to the identity of being a repetitive champion, of staying there. And that's why you'll see people, it's very rare for someone to repeat, defend a title, go back to the Masters and defend it, become a lightweight champion in the UFC and defend it and do it again. So at the elite of the elite, it may not even just be about getting to the championship level, it's about elevating even from there to the next level, which is repeating it. Making $1 million, that's great. A lot of guys get to $1 million, they make $1 million, and they never got any better than that. Their identity never stretched out. They never exceed that ceiling, and eventually they drop back down again, right? So it's, can you elevate that identity, that standard that's acceptable to you? That's the difference. At the elite level is, can you elevate that standard, right? That thing, that next thing. Right. And that's what holds people back. They go, I lost the title, I missed the pot, I missed the close. No, you got ahead of your identity. You got out over your skis. Your results exceeded what you believe you're worth. Right. And once that starts happening, that is a formula for going backwards. Wow. Happens to everybody.
You know, you said something in your talk yesterday that I know, my wife was there next to me. It hit us real hard. And we have 4 kids. Okay. And there was something that somebody had told you about, you know, take a look at your 7-year-old because she'll never be 7 again, or something like that. I'd like if you could dive into that a little bit, because that whole, how you transitioned into what that means for adults was just, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now, actually, for really thinking about it.
See it, actually. That's good.
So go into that, because
that's my formula. I'm glad you asked that, man. I appreciate that. Because I'm an average dude. Like, I am. Ask anyone that I grew up with. If you went to my high school and you met the people that I grew up with, they would not have said, well, oh, little Eddie Mylett, that's going to be blah, blah, blah. I didn't stand out at all. Like, there's nothing about me that's extraordinary that way, right? But what is a little unique is, like, I have this obsession with chasing the dude I was destined to be. So, like, I gave this talk yesterday that you're referring to. I said, when you were born and the doctor slapped you on the butt and handed you your mom, hopefully, right? Right? He didn't say, hey, here's an average one. Here's the mediocre one. He's destined for average, right? No one says that, right? In my faith, I believe I was made in the image of my Lord, right? Like, that's my faith, right? He doesn't make flawed products. I'm magnificent in that sense. Everything within him is within me, right? And so I think when I was born with a destiny, with a man I'm capable of becoming. That's what I think, right? And I have this hallucination at the end of my life, I'm going to get introduced to the man I could have been. The wealth, the power, the influence, the giving, the contribution, the travel, the memories, all those things. There's a man I'm capable of becoming that I was made to be. And since got slapped on the butt to that day, I'm chasing that dude, right? Okay. And I was saying yesterday, and so every decision you make in your life ought to be, if you want to get to that ultimate version of you, is what I'm doing right now get me a step closer to getting introduced to that person someday, or does it move me away from him or her? So I was saying, as my son was little, we're at a car wash. And I'd go there every Saturday. There was an old man there, old to me at the time. He was in his 50s. Now I'm that guy, right? But at the time I was in my 20s. And he was nice, like you would say to a kid. And I'd see him every weekend. And finally he says, how old's your little boy? I said, he's 6 years old. And he goes, and people say this to you all the time when you have kids. He goes, well, enjoy the 6-year-old, because when he turns 7, the 6-year-old's gone forever. And he goes, and then when he turns 8, the 7-year-old's gone forever. And we've all had kids, and we all know that that's true. Yep. My 16-year-old boy is not my 6-year-old boy, right? No. And so he said this to me. I didn't mean to be mean. I look back at him, I go, when did that process stop for you? And he just stared back at me like, oh my God. And he goes, I don't know. I said, well, you ought to figure that out, and you can turn it around. See, at some point in our lives, the 15-year-old isn't the same as the 16-year-old, but for most of us, there becomes an age where the 21-year-old's a lot like the 22-year-old. The 30-year-old's a lot like the 31-year-old. And I'm in this crisis. My daughter's accusing me of going through a midlife crisis right now, right? And I said, I am. And I was in a crisis at 20 to be a better 21. I already know the 20-year-old guy and what his life looks like. I want the 21-year-old guy to be a better version, the upgraded version. Just like that 6-year-old's gone forever, I want my 20-year-old gone forever. I'm 46 right now. I turn 47 next month. I want the 46-year-old gone forever. Right. And there's a new 47-year-old. The process of life is what we watch our kids do. That 6-year-old's gone forever. Now he's 7. Mm-hmm. It's a whole new person. Well, the 40-year-old, you ought to be gone forever. There ought to be a new 41-year-old. And when you stack up those years over life, at the end, you end up meeting the person you were born to be, unless you stop doing that. Right. And then every step you take gets you further off track. And then when you die and you meet the person you were born to be, you're total strangers. And that's a tragedy. So that's like my whole philosophy of my life is I'm chasing that dude I was born to be.
So that's incredible. Yeah. And, you know, so talking about the slapping in the ass all the way till now, but, you know, somebody's listening going, man, I wish I thought that way from the moment my ass was slapped.
Sure.
But they're probably assuming by hearing that you were just like this incredible 6-year-old, incredible 7-year-old, incredible 15-year-old, 18-year-old, 22-year-old, where nothing was going wrong because you were just doing so well.
Yeah.
So now I'd like to dive into the Velcro story.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, boy. All right, let's do the Velcro story. Here, I want to say one thing about what you just said. Life is about getting off track and getting back on.
Right.
Humans were born imperfectly, right? And you can make major leaps in a year, 3, 4, 5 years to get you back on that track again. Because I've been off track half of those years we just talked about. Half of the 47 years at least, I was not doing all the things I needed to do to get to that guy. Let's just be clear about that. Okay. So the Velcro story is this. I believed my own stuff so much, like I wanted to be successful so bad. It wasn't faking it till I make it. I actually started to have the identity of a rich guy, right? I started to walk, talk, and think like a rich guy. So I'm like, I need to go get a Mercedes, except I couldn't afford one. And I saw an ad in the newspaper for a kit car.
Okay.
It was a Chrysler LeBaron that had a Mercedes body on it. And so I went out and spent the money, a couple $1,000, and I bought a fake Mercedes. And I drove it for 2 years. And so when you would get in my car, the inside was a Chrysler LeBaron. And I lied to everybody. At that time, Chrysler and Mercedes had merged, so I told all the people that worked for me, all the agents, I said, I don't know if you guys heard about this new merger car, but there's this new Chrysler Mercedes.
There's new merger, which you can't just pull out your phone and Google it.
Because there was literally no such thing. I completely lied and made it up, right? So this car was put together. Mine was the cheapest version, and I'm not kidding you. The body was put together with Velcro. So you Velcroed the frame of the car. You Velcroed a Mercedes frame, Velcroed onto a body of a Chrysler LeBaron.
What was Velcroed? Like the doors, the windows,
everything.
the headlights?
The frame was still a LeBaron frame, but every single piece of equipment, the door panel, the lights. In fact, the front light, this is so awesome, man. When I would drive up to intersections, I'd have my cheap suit on, right? I would drive to an intersection. I had to slow down at every single intersection because if I went too fast and stopped, this happened like 300 times, no joke. The front light would just fly out of the car into the intersection. And I'd have to get out of the damn car, climb out with my suit into the intersection, traffic, grab my damn light, Velcro it back on the damn car, and get back in my car and drive away. And then when you would get in the car, the heat ran constantly no matter what was going on, and there's a back seat, which there isn't supposed to be in an SL600.
The heat was always on?
Always on, constant heat all the time, and it had a back seat, which is, of course, a real Mercedes doesn't have in the convertible version. And so one day I'm driving, my best friend is African-American. He's actually Haitian. But his name's Dan Charlier. He's black, okay? And so we had a retreat up in Lodi, California. Some of you all in here know where Lodi is, right? And we're driving up there before the retreat. I had 80 agents. He goes, hey, man, not a lot of brothers in Lodi. We're driving around Lodi. Something's going to happen. I said, you're crazy. Nothing. That's total race BS. There's no truth. He goes, I'm just telling you. There's no brothers in Lodi. So we go to the retreat. I'm in my kit car Velcro Mercedes that no one knows is fake. My agents all think this is the real deal and I'm this rich, successful guy. Sure enough, we're driving back to our hotel. I've got 10 cars behind me. My entire business is behind me. Cops pull us over. And he goes, I told you, man, you're driving with a brother in the car. We get pulled over. Cop comes up. He goes, stick your hands out the window. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, stick your hands out the window. It's a stolen vehicle. And I end up sticking my hands out. I'm like, maybe this thing, would I not register it? I end up getting handcuffed, so does he, put in the back of the police car. My whole team is parked behind me watching this. 3 more cops come up, 3 cars. I'm being arrested for driving a stolen car. I'm like, what is going on here? This is so strange. And finally it occurs to me, wait a minute, I wonder if he thinks that's it. And he comes back over. I said, sir, that's not really a Mercedes. It's not stolen. He goes, okay, this is turning into a DUI. I said, no, it's actually a Chrysler LeBaron. And he goes, what are you talking about? I'm like, sir, he goes, is this a drug deal? Is this a DUI? He goes, you know what? We're going to breathalyze you. I go, no, I'm serious. It looks like a Mercedes, but it's not. You imagine you're the cop.
Because the plates say it's a Mercedes. The plates say it's a Chrysler.
The plates were registered to a Chrysler.
Got it.
So he thinks it's fake plates on this Mercedes. No joke, right? So finally comes back to the car. I said, officer, please, I'm telling you, my whole business, I'm embarrassed, sir. I said, listen, if you'll go up to the passenger, to the driver door, and you'll just pull on the door, it'll come right off. It's on there with Velcro. He's like, what are you talking about, man? I'm like, I'm serious. Go up to the door, sir, please, and just pull on it. It'll pop right off the door. So my whole agency's behind me watching this. All the cops are there, and this guy walks up to the door with another police officer. He looks at the door. They look at each other, and he goes, pop! And he pulls my door up, and he takes it, and he spins it on his hand above everybody with all the cops just fall out. Ah! My whole agency knows now, right? And he just looks at it. He kicks my door. And then the other guy goes and picks it up and just sticks it back on my car again. He comes back, he's like, this is the biggest joke I've ever seen in my life. Lets me back out of the car and we roll on. Now I got to tell all my agents that I'm driving a Velcroed together car. And I drove that car for 2 years, man. 2 years. So people go, hey, you got a jet now, Ferraris, all these houses. Well, it started with a Velcro Mercedes.
Is the Ferrari really a Chrysler Crossfire with Velcroed?
I'm going to tell you, I gave that talk yesterday. This guy messaged me, goes, I have the fake Ferrari, which is on a Fiero together, but his isn't Velcroed. So no, mine's a real one, actually.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Awesome. That is one of the best stories I've heard. It was so cool.
True story, brother.
Okay, so
the best part is I sold that car to one of the guys who worked for me later, who knew it was fake. But anyway,
he knew it was Velcro.
He knew it, and he took it, and he drove it for 2 years.
Oh man,
yeah.
Do you have pictures? You did.
Yeah,
you had
I put them up
one.
yesterday. Yeah.
So now let's talk about how you got here, because you know you were in the financial game.
Yes.
And I mean, you think financial. You don't think working with high performing athletes and communicating with people. You have a great friendship with Tony Robbins for how long now?
20 years.
20-year relationship with Tony Robbins.
Yep.
That's not your typical regular financial guy, right?
Sure.
So when you got into it, what were you doing in the financial game, and then how did you transition to what you're starting to do today?
Yeah.
Or what you're doing today?
Everything happens to you, not for you, right?
Right.
I mean, I really do believe that. In hindsight in your life, every bad thing that's happened, in hindsight, you go, that happened for me. There was something good about it. When it's happening, it doesn't feel like it. When my baseball career ended, I ended up working at a group home.
So wait, let's talk about your baseball career. So what was that like?
Very brief. So I played Division I college baseball, then I got drafted to play professionally. I had an injury. And what it did is it prematurely ended something that would probably have ended anyway.
Okay.
In other words, I played with enough elite, great players to know I wasn't one. I was a really good player. I was a very good college player, and I would have been an average minor league baseball player. So it ended it prematurely for me. When I was done with that, I was unemployed. My dad ends up getting me a job. He was in AA. My dad got sober. The guy who he's going to meetings with I'm this loser unemployed son living at my dad's house. Right. I'm living in my same bed I grew up in with the same teddy bear, same posters, 24, 23, something like that. And my dad goes, hey, I came back from this meeting. I got you a job at this place, McKinley Home for Boys. The next morning I show up there, long story short, they hire me, my whole life changed. Okay. I ended up working, I worked in a home, it's a campus of homes. My boys were all 7 to 10, all wards of the court, almost every boy molested by family or parents are dead. And so because of my sort of not great upbringing, I related to these kids. That's where believe it or not, that's where my financial career kind of started. The reason I say that is I changed. I went from being real ego-driven, wanting to be famous. You know what it is when you're young and everything comes your way. And I just fell in love with serving people, man. I never knew I would like that. I fell in love with helping people, making a difference. Like, it never got old. Right. Making money's gotten old. Having Ferraris has gotten old. It's awesome, but it doesn't fill you up. Yeah. You should go have all those things, by the way. I hate when rich guys go, this stuff doesn't matter. Of course it matters. My flying on my jet home is way better than Southwest Airlines. Mm-hmm. Okay? I'm going to an oceanfront house, which is better than the apartment I lived in for 10 years. So don't anybody lie to you. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't fill you up. What fills you up is serving people. You were born to help other people, right? And so I got that there. And then while I worked there, I started part-time in the financial business. And that's my favorite thing that I do. It's not helping an elite. I love helping an elite athlete get a little better. But I really love helping somebody who wants to be somebody start a business at my company. Somebody says, look, I want to win for my family. I want my parents to be proud of me. I want my kids to go to a private school. I want to be able to retire my mom. That's the stuff I love doing the most at WFG. That's my pride and joy. And so, but that group home experience, athletics prepared me for the hard work, the dedication, dealing with adversity, all that. Then the Lord said, okay, I'm going to take that, I'm going to humble you, you're not going to make any money, and I'm going to stick you with these boys, and I'm going to teach you to serve people and love people and get better. Then I'll give you the financial business you're ready for. Right. And that happened in sequence for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you started speaking, because your talk was great.
Thank you.
Right? I mean, you look so totally comfortable on there. You've spoken on stages as big as that, bigger than that?
I have. I've spoken on stages bigger than that.
What was the biggest audience you've spoken to?
I've spoken probably 50,000.
50,000?
Yeah, people. I do events here. It's hard to know the amount, but I do events here where we simulcast between the venues.
Okay.
So like, I've done it where there's a full arena of MGM and a full arena at Mandalay. So if you add those two up, I don't know how many there are, but like I've done that. So
wow.
Yeah, in fact, I'm more comfortable on the larger stage now than a smaller one. It's become very strange for me. Yeah. So I was very comfortable there yesterday. Nervous, but comfortable once I got up there.
Yeah, and helping people one-on-one like you've been doing was obviously great and something you're still doing, but you've learned the value of or the reach that social media has. And you've been using social media as a platform to be able to share your message out with the world at a much greater volume.
Well, you're great at that too.
I'm great at that, but I'm following you. I'm watching you, right? And so it's pretty incredible. You post something, you have the interaction that you get, what people are saying about your videos, the liking, the sharing. It's not only it's impressive because it's at a high volume, but it's impressive because you really don't know what you're doing on the marketing side.
I don't. You're
right.
Yeah,
you know, you're just like, look, this is just what I believe, and I'm saying it.
That's right.
And I think that's what's really incredible. So
I think there's a power to that, by the way. You and I have talked about it. I think sometimes people make the mistake of posting content to be liked, posting content to get views. I've even made that mistake before. But I, in general, post content that I believe, whether you like it or not, right? Or I think can help you, or I think could inspire you, or an opinion I have. And I think that's what made some of the engagement viral. I mean, the Entrepreneur Magazine just this thing said I'm the, and I don't know why I am. Maybe I'm really not, but I'm the fastest growing person in the history of social media in the business life strategy space. It's only been really a year. It's actually been less than a year that I've actually been doing that. And so my engagement levels, there's several million people and a lot of views and comments and stuff. I think it's that, I don't know why. I think probably it's that the content helps people, and then I think also it's what you and I are doing. It's collaborating with other influencers. Business today seems to me to be much more than ever about getting attention and collaboration and good people helping good people. And so I've been the benefactor of Tony Robbins on my show. I've done his show. I've done Grant Cardone's show. I've had Andy Frisella on. I've had Tim Grover on. I've had Zach Johnson, the two-time major winner, on. I've had lots of athletes on. I've had influencers on in the space. So we benefit from one another's traffic. And then the key thing, though, is when they do find me, they better like or get value out of what I'm producing. Right. So far, it seems that some people have.
Right.
So.
Well, it's great. And now you have people that are reaching out to you with this content.
Yeah.
Because they're like, how can we work closer together?
Correct.
How can I have you in my corner a lot more? And now you're getting into the mastermind game, where it's like, okay, how can we make this work? Yeah. How can we really help more people in a greater way, but in a way where I can still, obviously you have a life that you have to live, right? At the same time, you have to manage it all well. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about like why you decided to get into the mastermind game and what your philosophy is with that.
Good. You're a great interviewer, by the way.
I appreciate it.
You're a really great interviewer. So I've been creating this content for a long time, and I've been speaking on stages for a long time. And just over that window of 20 years, people have wanted to work with you closer, right? And so I do enjoy helping people that are athletes do better or whatever, but I would really like to help more people. Like the reason I'm doing this is I kind of feel like it's my calling, my mission, and it's why I'm putting it. It doesn't feel like work, even though it's a lot of work. So I've consulted with lots of people, like what's the best way that I can help people? And it's been pointed out to me, and they're right, not everything can be free or in short windows. People want immersion, right? They want lots of time in the content or with you. So I've decided to create a mastermind. Andy Frisella and I have sort of decided to partner up on one. And that mastermind is going to take different forms. There'll be an inexpensive one and a more expensive one. But basically what it does, it allows you to have immersion. It allows you to be in an environment. It's one thing to learn a strategy, but really environment's everything. Even like you watch even in fighting, there's a reason why great fighters, many of them come out of similar gyms, similar programs, right? Great golfers come out of similar schools. So great colleges produce certain positions sometimes in football, right? And so I want to create, now what I want to do is go from creating content to creating an environment. And that's what the mastermind will do. I'm also creating a 30-day program that'll change your life. I'm going to write a book. So you can get something for $20, the book. You can get a mastermind for whatever I'll charge for that, or a program, et cetera. But I want to create environments because I think we're products of our environments, not just what we know or what we think, but who we associate with. And so I want to give people the power of association, whether that be through reading something, listening to something, or actually physically being with me. And so I'm going to create association and environment. Now if I'm really going to help you, that's got to be the level of access I give to people. And so I'm going to open up to that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So for the people that want to learn more about this, you just go to edmylett.com. We're actually putting it on the screen right now, but because people are driving, Mylett could be funky. Why don't you spell out edmylett.com for them?
It's Ed, E-D, and Mylett's M as in Mary, Y-L-E-T-T.com.
Awesome.
About everything you want. There's a mastermind tab. There's a tab where you can just submit your email. And then the other places like my YouTube channel, my iTunes podcast, a lot of good content on there. and obviously like Instagram or Facebook. So
Great. So for everybody watching, obviously you see it all on the screen. We're sharing everything for you guys so you can see it. For everybody listening, just know that it's Ed Mylett. You got the spelling in there. Just hit the little rewind 15 seconds if you want to hear it again. But also know that if you go to the show notes page, we're also going to be sharing all those links and all those resources as well as some of the stuff that we talked about today.
Awesome, man.
Great. Man, Ed, thank you so much for taking the time.
Dude, I really enjoyed it.
Appreciate it. I did too.
I'm really excited about our friendship too.
Same here, same here. For everybody watching and everybody listening, we just spent time with a GOAT. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us today. If you like this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel or find our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever your favorite place to listen to podcasts might be. And if you really like this episode, please leave a review for us on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.